everyone, it's Katrina from the Alluring Bead Boutique. I'm back today to teach you guys a new class. And in this class, we'll be making the baby Bali earrings that I showed you guys in talked about in a previous class and video. This project requires very few little seed beads and crystals, but works up into a really pretty earring in the Bollywood style. So this is a brick stitch around a bead project, which we will be working with 1/2 of our larger crystal here, and adding these little rows of brick stitch outwards and in a fanning effect. Then we're going to work back up through up to the top of the earring, and add this little length of section here, and of course a loop for our ear wire. And what we'll do is I'm going to show you, this is one pair I had made previously, and this is the colorway I'm going to be working on today, with these beautiful little turquoise and bluish colored beads, and the green AB finished crystals, and the tiny 4mm lime green crystals down here. And I'll be using metallic silver beads in lieu of the silver line gold delicas here I used on this project. We'll talk about materials here just in a few minutes, but I just wanted to quickly show you guys what we'll be working on. You'll need some Fireline, of course. This is a bead weaving project. And as far as like extra materials go, you'll just need a pair of ear wires in the color of your choice for your, for your project. I use silver, actually I use stainless steel for this color wave, and then I use the gold plate ear wires for this set. All right, so give me just a moment here, and we'll have a discussion about the different materials I use for both pairs of earrings. All right, so in the first color wave that I created, I'm going to let you guys know that I'm just using some cheaper Chinese crystals that I had gotten way back when I first started trying to get a hold of some beads. Got these all on eBay. The 8mm beads I used in this project are just a goldish yellow color. They didn't really have an actual color code to them. They were just in a little kit, and they called them yellow. But they have an AB finish on them and on half of the bead. And as you can see, they're not the greatest quality of crystals you can use. Of course, if you want to use some really expensive beads, that's up to you. You can use Swarovski or any other round crystal that you have. I have not tried this pattern with fire polish beads, and as you know, fire polish beads tend to have a little bit longer, more barrel kind of look to them. I would suggest sticking with the round crystal on this for now, or unless you want to just play around with it on your own using some fire polish. But these are 8mm beads here, and you'll need just 2 of those, 1 for each earring. Then I have these little 4mm that also came along with the same set I ordered from eBay. And they're just little yellow faceted rounds, little 4mm. One thing I want to go over with you guys, I did make an adjustment when I did this second earring that we're going to be working on today. This set here I actually used more crystals and a few more of these 8/0 seed beads, which we'll talk about as I go through and show you guys how to work this out. I didn't like the way that this came out looking kind of a little bit weird and different and too spread out here at my embellishments on the end. So I made some adjustments to my pattern, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to do it this way, where your little accent beads are actually much more closer together, and it gives it a much more polished look, and I like it better this way. So I'm going to be doing the modified version of this today, but I will show you how I actually did these ones as well. All right, so now we've got our crystals out of the way. We have an 8mm and we have our 4mm. For this version I'm doing today, you're going to need 16 of these 4mm and 2 of your bigger ones. Then you're going to need 3 different kinds of seed beads. You're going to need an 8/0 seed bead of your choice. I use Toho seed beads for my 8/0s. These are the aluminum permanent galvanized round seed bead size 8/0 by Toho. Then you'll need some delicas. These are 11/0 metallic galvanized silver delica beads. Those are what I'll be using today. And then for my 11/0 seed bead, I'm using these Rocales that I got at Hobby Lobby. These are crystal turquoise. Crystal/turquoise, it says here on the front. You can get these in Hobby Lobby. And they are a Rocal, which is a little bit different than a regular round seed bead. But I'm pretty sure you can use an 11/0 seed bead and it'll look just the same. You might just have a little bit of a difference. The Rocals are a little bit smaller, I think. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to be using. And for the other earrings, the colors I used were obviously the yellow crystals. And in this situation, I'm going to be using these lime greens with the AB finish and then just the lime green, smaller 4mm. Right there. For this earring here, I used for my 8/0s a matte transparent sugar plum Toho seed bead, which is this beautiful little matte opaque. To me, it looks opaque, but they're calling it transparent, but it's really pretty purple color. The Rocales I used were Crystal Luster Red, also from Hobby Lobby. And my delicas were just the transparent silver line gold 11/0s for this pair. Alright, so get your materials gathered up. You'll need a delica, an 8/0, an 11/0, either Rocal or just regular 11/0 seed bead, 2 8mm crystals, and then 16 smaller crystals, and 2 ear wires. And meet me back and we'll get started. Alright, so I'm back and I've got my materials laid out. We won't be needing our little small 4mm crystals till we get closer to the end. But like I had said at the beginning, this is a brick stitch project. And we're going to be doing brick stitch around this bead. And actually, we're only going to do half of the bead. So what you're going to need, I'm using 6-pound fire line. I've got a couple of feet on my size 11 pony beading needle. I'm going to take my 8mm crystal. I'm going to pass my needle through, bring it downward toward the end of my thread. And I'm going to leave myself a couple of inches so I'll have a good something to grip onto as I work to keep my tension correct and all that. Now take your needle and then pass right back through the bead in the same direction you passed through originally. It's kind of like we're pretending we're making a stop bead, but we're actually going to put this thread bridge on the outside of our bead. As you can see right there, there's the first thread bridge. You pull it nice and tight, and I'm going to pass right back through my bead in the same direction one more time, because I want 2 threads side by side on the outside edge of my crystal, just like that. All right, so I made a little adjustment to my light, and I hope you can see better. The 2 threads sitting side by side here on the outside edge. Here's my tail thread. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. And then I'm left-handed, so I'll be working, in this direction. The first thing we're going to do is work with our delicas. And when you're doing brick stitch, you will always start each row by picking up 2 beads. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my 11/0 delicas. Then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass under both of my 2 threads sitting on the outside edge of this bead. Then I'm going to pull, and you'll see how these 2 little beads are sitting right here, kind of cattywampus looking. Now I'm working from the left again. So here's my second bead that I picked up. Here's the first bead. Here's the second bead. I want to take my needle and go back up through the second bead, just like that, and pull my thread. And that stands this little bead up on its end, up against my crystal. Now I want to straighten up this other bead so that it looks the same as the bead next to it. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go down in through bead 1, just like this, and then I'm going to also, at the same time, I'm going to grab the thread bridge that's sitting underneath that particular bead. So going into bead, I'm coming out of bead 2, I'm going into bead 1, and I'm going to take my needle and scratch along the surface of that crystal till I get up under the same thread bridges as I did in my first stitch. And I'm going to push it through, pull my thread just like that. And as you can see, that creates a little thread bridge here at the top of this bead. Now I'm going to go right back up through bead 2, just like I did a few minutes ago. And now, both of my little beads are standing up, facing outward from this crystal, just like that. You can use your tail, pull on your tail thread to create some tension, and you want to situate these 2 beads close to the hole. Here's the hole of my crystal right here, if you can see it. I don't want my delicas sitting right straight over that hole, but I want them fairly close, just like that. Alright, so moving on, now we'll be picking up 1 delica at a time. So pick up a delica, pass your needle under the thread bridge, both of the thread bridges against your crystal, pull. Now bead should slide down to your beadwork, just like that. Then take your needle and pass right back up through the same bead that you just added. And when you pull it nice and snug, it's going to stand up right beside the bead before it, and they're all standing and facing outward. So what we're doing is creating this little shell-looking effect coming out the outside edge of the crystal. You can see the delicate beads right in there. All right, so I'm going to keep on doing that exact step for a total of 7 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excuse me, I have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on a minute. For 8, I'm sorry, we're going to put 8 delicas along this outside edge of this lime 8mm crystal. So I'm going to pick up my next delica. I'm going to come under the 2 threads, just like that, and pull. Then I'm going to take my needle and pass right back up through my delica, excuse me, just like that. Cinch it into place so it's sitting nice and like a little soldier beside the other delicas I did before it. I'm going to come out just a little bit, guys, so you can see a little bit better. This will be delica number 5. Pick up my delica, come under my 2 threads, pull, then take my needle and pass back up and outwards through the same delica I just added. And now you can wiggle using your tail thread for tension and wiggle your beads so that you have enough room, because we want to fit 8 beads along this double thread bridge here without blocking the hole of our big crystal, right, the hole of our crystal right there. Alright, so I need to add 3 more delicas. Picking up a delica under my thread bridges. And make sure to grab both of your threads along the crystal. Two more. And now my last one. And there's what my beadwork looks like. I have this adorable little fan of silver delicas fanning out along the outside edge of half of my crystal. You lay it down. And it's really nice and symmetrical. Everything looks really good. I have not blocked the holes of my crystal. And I'm ready to add my next color of beads. So what I'm going to do is flip my work over so I can be working, since I'm left-handed, I'm going to flip my work so that I'm working back in this direction. Just because it's easier for me to work that way. So now I'm going to be adding these blue 11-0 rocal beads. So of course I'm starting a new row, so I have to pick up 2. Now, we're going to be working with these thread bridges here that are on top of our beads from the previous row. And it's a little hard to see but with the reflection, but here's our first thread bridge sitting between delica 1 and delica 2. The second thread bridge is sitting here between delicas 2 and delica 3. Since I picked up 2 beads, I want to go under that thread bridge between my delicas 1 and my delica 2 and 3. And then I'm going to pull it through so that my little blue colored, turquoise colored seed beads are sitting on top of my delicas just like that. I'm going to take my needle, pass up through that second one, just like I did in row 1, and pull everything nice and tight. And set now my blue bead is sitting straight up and down on top of this delica. But I need to straighten up bead 1. So once again, I'm going to come down through bead 1, and I'm going to grab at the same time, and take your time to do this, but you want to grab that thread bridge that's sitting between delica 1 and delica 2. Just like that. Oops, sorry, earthquake. And see how I've come through bead 1, and I've also went under that thread bridge at the same time. And pull my thread through. And I'm going to come back up through bead 2. Just like that. And when I pull, you see that my 2 beads are now standing up on top of my delicas. And I'm ready to add my next bead. So now we're going to pick up 1 bead at a time, just like we did previously. And we're going to add beads to our thread bridges above our delicas until we have added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our blue beads. So I've got a blue bead on my needle. I'm going to go under the thread bridge between delicas 3 and delica 4. 1, 2, 3, and here's the thread bridge. Right there. And I'm going to pull. And then I'm just going to go back up through the 11-0 turquoise bead. And pull it down until it's standing straight up and down on top of my delicas. And I'm just going to repeat this until I come to the end of my row. Picked up a bead. Now I'm going under the thread bridge between delica 4 and delica 5 of the previous row. Pull it down, come back up through the blue bead. And snug it into position. One more. Come under the thread bridge between the two delicas, next in line. Pull it down and then go back up through the seed bead I'm just now adding. Snug it into position. Now when we get to adding our last seed bead, we're going to have to do something just a little bit different, because we're started out between the thread bridge between beads 1 and 2 of our delicas, and when we get down to the end, we're going to be missing a thread bridge, but I'll show you what to do. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's my 7th bead. I've picked it up. I'm going under the thread bridge between delica bead number 7 and 8. And as you can see, that takes up my last thread bridge. Pull the bead into position. But we want this end to look the same as this end, so we're going to pick up one more bead. And we're just going to go back under that same thread bridge between delica beads 7 and 8. Just go right back under the same thread bridge one more time. And then when you come back up through this 8th seed bead, both sides will look the same. And there's our little fan. So next we're going to be adding some 8-0 beads. And obviously we're not going to have enough room on our little fan for 8 8-0 beads. I'm able to get 7 beads on this earring, on 7 of my 8-0 beads. So that's what we're going to do for this earring. I'm going to flip my work over once again. Now I'm going to pick up 2 of my 8-0 beads on my needle. Once again, I'm going to skip over the first thread bridge and go into the second thread bridge. So that'll be the thread bridge between the second and third bead coming back in this other direction. Pull. And then come back up through the second 8-0 bead that I just added. Pull. Then we're going to go back into the first 8-0 bead and under our first thread bridge, just like we did previously. I'm going to pull that into position and come back up through the second bead one more time. Oops, I think I've gotten my, I screwed up. Make sure that you don't get your thread hung on this outside edge of your beadwork here, like I almost did. So now I have both beads standing up and facing outwards, like in our little fan direction, just like we've been doing. It's time to pick up 1 8-0. Come under the thread bridge, the next thread bridge, which will be between beads 3 and 4 of the previous row. Pull it down and then go back up through that bead and snug it nice and snug into position. And repeat till we come to the end of our row. Here's my 5th 8-0 bead, going under the thread bridge of beads 6 and 7 of the previous row. And now I'm going to snug that into position. Pick up my next one. I'm going to come under this thread bridge right next to it. Pass my needle upwards. I think I made a little bit of a mistake there, so let me back up. Don't like the way that my previous 8OC bead is sitting. So I'm going to come off of this one. And I'm going to fix this one. Coming back through it. Alright, so there I am pulling it down tight of through the thread bridge. Now I need to pass back up. I think I have my bead kind of flipped. It's easy to do, so just be careful of that. Now I'm going to pick up my 6th 8O bead. I'm going to come through this thread bridge here. Sorry about that. Then come back up through the 8O bead. Now that's 6 of my 8Os. I've got one more to add. So I'm going to pick up my last 8O bead. And I'm going to come under this last thread bridge. We didn't have to do a double up that time because we're decreasing these 8Os by one bead. We added 8 delicos, then we added 8 of our turquoise blue, and now we're adding 7 of our 8Os. So we actually did not have to run out of thread bridges and go back in using the same thread bridge twice. So there's the row of our 8O beads, fanned out nicely from our crystal. I love this color combination. And now the next thing we're going to do is add our 4mm crystals. Now we do have, down here I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have the same amount of crystals as I do of my 8OC beads. This last crystal, the number 8 crystal, is going to be used at the top of the earring, like that. So we zoom out just a little. And I'm going to flip my work, just like I've been doing, because I like to work back in this direction for brick stitch, back towards myself. And we're starting a new row, so we're going to pick up 2. So I'm going to be picking up 2 crystals. I'm going to skip this first thread bridge, and I'm going to come through the second thread bridge between bead 2 and 3 of the previous row. I'm going to come back up through my second crystal to stand it up. Then I'm going to come down through my first crystal and under that very first thread bridge to fix that bead into place. And come right back up through crystal number 2 in the direction that I'm going to be working. And you'll see that those 2 beads are standing up in the right direction. Pick up my next 4mm. Come under my next thread bridge. And go right back up through the 4mm crystal towards the outer edge of my beadwork. Standing and snugging that into place and standing that bead up in the right direction. Just going to repeat that till I come to the end of my beadwork, picking up a crystal and going under my next thread bridge and passing back up through my crystal to get it into position and stand it on its edge. Alright. If you guys missed all that, I really am sorry, but I'm just picking up a crystal, going under the next thread bridge, just like we've been doing. Coming back right up through the same bead that I'm adding. Pulling nice and snug and secure and standing my bead up into position next to the bead I added right before that. So now I'm coming around and I'm going under this last thread bridge between bead 7 and 8. Then we'll pass up through my crystal just like that. But I still have one more crystal to add. So I got to pick it up and I got to come back under my same thread bridge that I just used. The same thread bridge between beads 7 and 8 of my 8O seed beads. Excuse me, beads 6 and 7 of my 8O seed beads on the previous row. And when I pull it into position, I have created my fan and my beadwork is even on both sides. I am coming out of this crystal here at the edge of my beadwork. What we're going to do is create this little edge of accent beads on the outside of our crystals to cover up all of this exposed thread from our brick stitch. To do that, we're going to pick up one of our blue beads. We're going to go right back down through the same crystal that our thread is exiting. And I'm also going through an 8O seed bead right below it. So I'm coming out of the 8O now, and I've positioned this little bead sitting on top of the crystal. So now I want to go up through the 8O right next door. I'm coming through the 8O only to bury my thread will slide into that intersection so we don't have any exposed. Then I'm going to go up through the next crystal. And I'm going to pick up another one of my turquoise beads. I'm going to come right back down through the crystal. Same crystal I'm exiting. Just the crystal. Position that little blue bead right here at the top. Then we'll pass upwards through the crystal right next door, going back to the right here. And I'm just going to repeat that step until I've added one little blue turquoise seed bead on top of each one of my crystals. Pick up my blue bead, pass right back down through the same crystal that I'm currently exiting, pass up through the crystal right next door. Oh, Josie, my little dog's coughing. And I've got 2 more to go. I've got the bead on my needle. And I'm going to go right down through the same crystal I'm currently exiting. And I'm also going to go through the 8O seed bead underneath it. I'll pull my blue bead into position above, sitting on the outside edge of my crystal. I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to come up through just the 8O seed bead right next to the one I'm exiting, working towards the inside of my beadwork. Then I'm going to come through the outer crystal, the crystal on the outer edge of my beadwork, right there. Now, I'm going to come through from the outside edge. Here's the outside edge of my beadwork. So I'm going to pass through that first blue bead from left to right, because I'll be working from left to right, because I'm left-handed. Now, I'm going to pick up 2 of my silver delica beads, and I'll go from left to right through the next seed bead on the outside edge of my beadwork. And I'm going to snug those 2 delicas right in between the 2 blue beads. And I'm going to pull it in pretty tight. because I don't want any exposed thread. I'm going to pick up 2 more delicas. I'm going to go through the next blue seed bead, making sure my thread doesn't get hung up on the other beadwork, and pull it in nice and tight. And I'm going to repeat this until I come to the last bead, the last blue bead on the outside edge of my beadwork here, and I have 2 little silver delicas in between each of these blue beads. So now I'm picking up my last 2 silver delicas, and I'm going to come through this last blue bead here on the outside edge of my beadwork, just like that. And you can see that I've created this little row of accent beads along the outside edge of my little green crystals in my fan. So now I've come through this last blue bead, and I want to secure everything by passing down through my crystal, my 8/0 seed bead, the blue 11/0, and then also the 11/0 delica. So you're going to be passing down through the crystal and the 3 seed beads below it. And when you pull it through, pull your work nice and secure so you don't have any slack in your accent beads here and exposed thread showing. So I want it nice and snug, but not so tight that it pulls your beadwork out of shape. And you should be exiting this delica bead we added at the very beginning of row 1. Now we're going to add the upper portion of our earring. Now we're going to add the upper portion of our earring. To do this, I'm going to pick up 2 of my blue beads, and I'm going to go through the center hole of my crystal. And I'm position those 2 beads right here on the outside edge of my crystal. And when I'm on the other side, I'm going to pick up 2 more. And I'm going to go down through the delica, the first delica in row on this side of the beadwork, plus the blue bead and the 8/0 seed bead. And I'm going to pull those 2 beads into position. Then I'm going to come back up through the 8/0 seed bead right next door. And I'm going to jump over to the, here's the seed bead I'm coming out of, right here, the second bead. I'm going to come over to the blue bead and the delica on the outer edge of my beadwork. And I'm going to pass my needle back up through those beads. Just like that. And you see that it pulls that little thread in the intersection there right below the 2 blue beads, so I don't have any exposed thread showing. Now I'm going to come right up through the 2 blue beads I added on the outer edges of my crystal, just like that. And see how nice and straight these beads are now? When we come back to this side, we'll straighten up these 2 beads on this side a little bit better when we get to, done with adding our beads here for our hoop. And so now we're going to pick up 3 8/0 beads. And then 3 blue beads and 2 delicas. I don't like that delica. Those 2 are better. All right. So I've got 3 8/0s, 3 of my blue 11/0 rocales, and then 2 of my 11/0 delicas. Now I'm going to pick up my last crystal. Drop all that down to my beadwork. Then I'm going to pick up 6 delicas. And I'm going to come back through just my 4mm crystal, and then I'm going to snug all of that down to my beadwork, just like that. We're going to pick up the reverse of this by picking up 2 delicas, 3 of the blue beads, and 3 of our 8/0s. And now we're going to come down through the 2 blue beads we added on this side of our crystal to straighten those out. And pull our little beadwork into shape. Now we're going to come down through the delica, the blue bead, and the 8/0 on this side of our beadwork. I'm going to go ahead and go through my crystal too. And there I've created this loop here. As I pulled this beadwork into position, I actually passed right back through the same crystal because I don't want to be exiting the crystal. I want to be exiting this 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to come back up through the 8/0 seed bead and the blue 11/0 seed bead right next door. Then I'm going to come through the first delica of my beadwork to the outside edge, which is going to be this delica right under here. I'm going to come back up through the 2 blue seed beads I added on the outside edge of my crystal. Then I'm going to come through the 3 8/0s, the 3 blue beads, 2 delicas, and the 4mm that I just added. So I'm going to come back up through all of those beads and make sure that I'm not skipping any. Now I should be coming out of my 4mm crystal here. I want to pass through just 2 of the delicas on either side. It doesn't matter which. Just pick a side. I'm going on the left. Go through 2 of my delicas. Then I'm going to pick up a blue bead. And I'm going to pass through the next 2 delicas. When I pull that bead into position, it's going to create this sharp little corner right there with that little blue bead. Now I'm going to pick up another blue bead and pass through the next 2 delicas. And when I do that, I'm also going to come down through the 4mm crystal at the same time. When I pull that bead into position, I'm going to create this other little corner bead sitting here, and it kind of makes this beautiful little shape at the top of my earring, where I'm going to connect my ear wire as soon as I end my thread, just like that. So now I'm coming out of my 4mm, and I need to work my way right down through the seed beads on the other side of my beadwork. So I'm going to come down through the 2 delicas, the 3 blue beads, then the 3 8/0 beads. And pull. And now I've got these 2 little beads on this side of my beadwork of my crystal that I added to the outer edge of my crystal. I'm going to come through there. Then I'm going to go through the delica right below it. The first delica I added a row 1. And I'm going to pull into position. Now my earring is done, and I want to end my thread. I'm going to just simply weave through some of these beads. I'm coming out of that delica, the first delica of the row, working towards the outside edge of my beadwork. So I'm going to take my needle and come up through the next delica on the row, back towards the center crystal. Pull my tail thread out. Then I'm going to just go weaving in throughout these little beads just a couple of times. I'm going to go down through the next delica. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go down through the next delica on the row, which will be the third one. And this time I'm going to pass through the blue bead and the 8/0 seed bead, going towards the outer edge of my beadwork. I'm going to come up through the 8/0 right next door, just the 8/0. I'm going to pass down through the next 8/0, right next to that. Now I'm just weaving in and out. And come back through, up through the next 8/0, going back towards the center crystal on my beadwork. Now I'm going to come through the 11/0 blue bead right above it, and the 11/0 delica if I can. Now I got through the blue bead. Now I'm going to pass up through the delica at the end of my row, just like that. And I'm going to pass right straight through my crystal, the center hole of my crystal. Now I've got these two threads sitting together side by side. I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. Make sure it lands down between my seed beads and my crystal. Then we'll tie one more, putting the knot in the same position. Then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come right back through this crystal. And I'm going to pull sharply so that my knot comes inside of my crystal, just like that. Then I'm going to end my two threads. And I'm just going to use scissors. I'm going to cut off my tail thread. And I'm going to cut off my working thread. And there's the mate to my adorable earring. I'm going to take some needle nose pliers. I'm going to open up the ear wire, slide it through my loop on my beadwork. Then I'm going to close up my ear wire, slide everything back into place. These ear wires have a little ball and a spring. And there you have it. Cute little pair of baby Bali earrings. I wanted to talk to you just a minute about the other pair of earrings. On this particular pair, I've added an additional little bit of beads here on the outer edges. It actually increased from my delicas. I increased the amount of 11/0 beads, and I did an increase in the amount of 8/0 beads. And in order to do that, all I did when I came to the end of my row and added in my last, say, the last 8/0 bead, I simply took a new 8/0 bead and then ladder stitched it onto the bead next to it, the previous bead. And that is how I got this increasing look of beads on the fan out, but I really, like I said, I didn't much care for the way that it came out. So I decided to change it and do it this way. And as you can see, my little accent beads look a lot nicer. I don't have any exposed threads showing like I do here on the outside edge of these crystals. You can see a lot of exposed thread, and I didn't really like it very much. So I decided to play around with it. And when I did it this way, it eliminated the problem I was having, and I like the earring much better. Now, if you know how to do increases and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to, you know, add on a few extra beads here on your fan out section, if that's what the look that you're after, and if you like the look of it. Personally, I'm going to stick with it like this for now. Maybe in the future I will work out a different way of doing something like this, where you know, we ever increase the fan out as you're going outwards, add more of an increase to the fanning out section. But for now, I'm going to stick with this one because I really like the way it came out, and they're really adorable. And, you know, the whole point of it was to make them, you know, like smaller, little smaller Bollywood style earring, and I think that the pattern has achieved that look the way that I want it to. And I hope you liked today's video. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Follow me on my social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and check out my website. I have patterns available now, and we'll be adding new patterns, trying to get a new pattern up every week. Go ahead and check it out. I hope you guys will stay with me and enjoying my classes, and check back with me often, as we'll be doing more and more tutorials on YouTube and Skillshare. You have a great day.